hoping you can see me. Let's move this camera up nice and close. Alright. Let's have a look. Hi everybody, I am just on live today. I've had so many questions regarding ingredients and what they look like in the packaging and substituting different brands that I might use. So we thought I would jump on and show you some of those products and tell you, and you can ask any questions regarding any brands that you might be using, any problems that you've had with any recipes or anything tasting too sweet or not in the way of biscuits or something like that. I'm just trying to look for my live. Here we go again. I'll just get that up there and I'm just going to turn the volume down. Okay, so I can see what I'm seeing. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, this is your chance to actually ask me any questions. But I'm going to go through some of the ingredients that I use and how I use them and what other ingredients you might have be using that are good and some that might not be so good. So as you can see, I've got a lot of products on my kitchen bench. This is like nothing that compared to everything that we use. But there's some really good ingredients in here that I think need to be addressed as much as possible. Just in regards to when I see a recipe, somebody say, I followed a recipe to a T, or I made this recipe and it's too sweet, or it's too salty, or it didn't set. I always see people trying to problem solve, which is fantastic. I want you guys as our community and our groups and things like that to try and help each other, because of course we all know different things and we're all great at different things. So but in a lot of those I'll look at it straight away and I'm like, what sweetener did you use, what salt did you use, what flour did you use, is it a conventional oven, is it a fan forced oven, all of those kind of things that really can make a huge difference in keto baking. Think about what it'd be pre-keto if you'd ever baked a sponge or one of those recipes where everything has to be measured to a gram and not be changed at all. Well, keto baking in many respects can be harder than any of those other recipes we ever made back in the day, because some of the ingredients really shouldn't be changed because of their properties, not because of brands. It's like, even today when we're going to talk about brands, if you want to throw me a brand, let's just say erythritol, it could be Keto Eats erythritol, it could be Sucrans erythritol, it could be Swerve. If they're all erythritol, they're all the same. It's like people talking about net carbs of coconut flour. Sorry, it's all going to be the same regardless of what it says on the packet. If one says it's a lot less than the other, then what kind of coconuts are they growing, to be honest? So let's have a look through, because there's a lot of ingredients here. Like I said, I'm not going through every single ingredient that I possibly use, but if you like this video today and it gives you a bit of a better understanding, just let me know, because I will go through the products I use. I'm not going to be doing reviews on products that I don't use or that are on the market necessarily, because I don't have time to go through every single product there is available. You can surely go ahead and test them yourself if you like, but I found the brands that I use, and because my time in the kitchen is very, very precious, because as you can imagine, experimenting with recipes, you could spend a whole night. The other night I did this for our new book, made a whole recipe, even bulk made it, not happy with it. So it's never going to see the light of day. So, these sort of things, it does take me a lot of time to get around to it. So, okay, well, I'm going to try and work my way across here. Most of these brands you probably even have seen already, but I'm going to start with salt, because it was one that I actually brought up in our last live last week. I use Molten Sea Salt Flakes. It's an Aussie brand. It's available in some Coles and Woolies and your markets and things like Growers Best and stuff. I just put mine just in it's a little bowl that Dave actually made out of wood, and I use it all the time. Now, my recipes always state salt flakes. If you've got this stuff or iodized table salt, way saltier than this stuff, okay? So don't substitute 1 teaspoon of this or a pinch of this for a pinch of that. Not the same. It's kind of like what's something that's really like, I don't know, throwing in a couple of like those sweeteners tablets that are really freaking sweet compared to sugar. This is like on speed compared to this. So, you know, salt flakes are available in the supermarkets. You do use more. I find that they're probably a better salt. You can get some at specialty stores and that as well too. And it's also great for making your own seasoning. So you can blend it with citrus rinds or juice, vinegar. I make salt and vinegar seasonings, chilies, and you just dry them out in the oven or a dehydrator, and you can even make your own flavoured salts. So that's one of my biggest one is if you've ever made a recipe of mine or somebody else's, because obviously we're making lots and lots of recipes, and you say, oh, holy crap, this is like so salty. Think back and see, you know, did you use a fine salt? Pink Himalayan salt is saltier, so it is great for meats and stews and stuff like that. And again, less is more at the beginning of a recipe, and then you can season to taste at the end. It's even when I made these meatballs the other night, like I said, that we'll never see the light of day. I put salt and pepper on it. I never stick salt and pepper on a meal. I haven't all my life. It's not, well, like on a meatball. I might put some on tomato, say for instance, but yeah, it's just not my thing. And yeah, as soon as I taste it, I'm like, oh, I've way under seasoned this because I was taking into account different bone broths and that to be used within the recipe, etc. So before I move on to flours, which is going to be my next one, and all the substitutes of flours, I'll just have a quick look at what questions you've asked, if there's any in here. Lots of highs. Hi, everybody. I'd love to say hi to everybody individually, but like I said, there's a lot of product here, and I really want you guys to get as much out of this as I can. How do I access the keto pasta recipe, please? Keto pasta, if you're talking about one that I've got a picture of, that's all spun around a fork, that is in our Egg Fast 2.0 book. And yeah, it's a extremely low carb, very easy pasta to make. And also there is my lasagna sheets in the lasagna recipe. So I can add some links after that, but at this stage, the pasta that I will probably pull out one day has ingredients in it that you can't buy in a supermarket, so it's probably less likely to ever end up on the website, because I'm trying to, other than a few specialty sweet recipes, trying to give you guys all the recipes that I can that use ingredients that can be found in a supermarket, but like today when I'm talking about different brands, why I like specific brands over what's in the supermarket. So that's, in saying that, that means that you can make, let's just say Keto Loco, my cookbook, you can make every single recipe in that cookbook with ingredients from a supermarket, but that doesn't mean that I use ones from the supermarket because of different reasons, and I'll show you why today. Okay, so let's move on to, oh hang on, no, I was looking at questions. We need you to do pre-done meals for useless cooks for myself. Okay, Ben, that is something I'd love to do, and you know, I'm trying to work out what the best way of doing it is. To start up something like that would cost a lot of money. I'm not a risk taker at all. It's whether we do a crowdfunding to become like a, you know, keto meal business and find distributors across the nation, because I'm not somebody that would want to just do something in one town and then go from here to there to there. I'd want to do it across the line. Or if, you know, we team up with a brand like, I don't know, HelloFresh, for instance, and put Mad Creations into a meal plan for them, and then you guys can order from a national brand that's already there. We have a lot of great recipes. I think with our platform, and that would be a great opportunity to get it across for everybody, and created by somebody who actually like is really passionate, one, about keto, but mainly about like the taste of food too, because there's heaps of people that can write a keto recipe, but they have to taste up their ass. So yeah, I would like to stick out some really great food in packaged meals and in baked goods and stuff like that. But yeah, it's, you know, it's a whole manufacturing and distribution and logistics and stuff like that. And because it's still only Dave and I operating this business, you know, maintaining a website that I'm putting at least 1 to 2 recipes on it weekly, which is far greater than a lot of people in the same shoes as me, and still trying to write cookbooks every day. I'd like to write them every day, like every year as well. So yeah, it's just a time thing, unfortunately, and money, of course. Hi would like to know which collagen you use, Lynn. You will find that out today. Honey, that's what it was, lasagna sheets cut finely for pasta. Okay, so yeah, Dale, if you just look up lasagna with an A on the website, so anytime you go onto madcreationshub.com, there's a search. I always say the best way to search for anything is to search for one keyword, not write a long thing, because it will, if you write chicken lasagna, it's not going to come up with our Tuscan, well, it might come up with our Tuscan chicken lasagna, but if you wrote, you know, red beef lasagna sheets, it's not going to come up with something. So just put in lasagna with an A and it'll come up. Or even if you go into Google search and you write Mad Creations lasagna, it will come up with everyone. Same with anyone, like someone was looking for bagels the other day on the website. They'd written bagels and it's a bagel. So because there was an extra letter, it didn't search for it. Use Google. Google has a better search function in that way. Always just write Mad Creations and then whatever you're looking for, it will show you the top links at the top of what you're actually searching for. Okay, so we've gone through all those questions. Okay, let's look at flours. So obviously for most of my recipes, I do use almond meal. We have a lot of people with nut allergies, and with almond meal, I always use the blanched Luckies. I know a lot of people always ask me about buying in bulk. I haven't bought in bulk because when this brand goes on sale 50% off at Coles or Woolworths, I'm the first in line. I go up there and I buy a ton of it, and I think it works out to $10, $12, something like that a kilo. So I buy a ton of it then, and then cross my fingers that I'm not making a lot more recipes than I need of this. I haven't actually been using a lot of it lately because I've been making mainly savoury recipes. So hopefully that'll last to the next one. But there is also, hang on, I have, Keto Eats have brought out their own brand of pantry ranges. There's heaps of them. They're great. I've already used this one. There is some still in here. And it's a lot finer than the almond meal. So if you like almond meal and your almond flour, the only thing I say, like in my pancakes, almond flour is way better than almond meal because it kind of makes your pancakes chunky with almond meal. You can mill it again if you've got a high-speed food processor like a Thermomix or a Vitamix. But it's probably just cheaper to buy this sort of stuff. I will give you guys, hang on, I'll just pop that in there now. I think I've got a whole thing of posts and links there. Hopefully that'll work. I don't know if it's going to put all the links on there. Doesn't look like it is. But anyway, that would have been good if it was. Oh, hang on, here it is. The pantry range of Keto Eats, there's actually, I think, a link that you can actually like buy the whole lot. And they also have our bread mixes and stuff. So, for other flours, coconut flour, I use a couple of different coconut flours. We've got a couple of different brands here. Again, we've got the Keto Eats brand, the one that's open. And this is the one, Cocoa Earth, another Aussie brand that's available in, yes, it's both in Coles and, hang on, no, is it in Woolworths? I don't think this one's in Woolworths. I know it's in Coles, but I'm not so sure that it's in Woolies. I think Woolies have the other, maybe Mackenzie's brand. But again, that's when I said, like, stop comparing nutrition on the back. The coconut flour, they're not going to be that much difference. Usually it's just a case of that one is like an American label and has it taken into account fibre. No, they're not a straight swap for almond meal. No, I can't just say to you, if I haven't given you an option for coconut flour for a recipe, please don't send me an email to actually do it because I'd have to test it. It's really not a ratio on things. I know some people will say that it, might be like a fifth to a quarter of almond meal. That doesn't always work. So I'm not going to advise on it. I'm going to say, like, you can test it out and see how you go. But most of the time, if you ask me to ask about a recipe or a recipe substitution or alteration, I'm already like, behind 100 recipes. Like you can see there's a board over on my fridge over there and it's got recipes on there, and they've honestly been on there for a month or more, and I haven't got around to making one single one of them yet. So a lot of people will know, and they'll know that some of them are the brands that are actually on here. Okay, so Sucrin have Sesame Flour, which is a great flour. You can use this one in baking and that as well too. It can turn things a little bit green, but it doesn't change the flavour. Crackers, it's a 1-to-1 swap for almond meal. in crackers. It makes them amazingly crisp. And no, it's not the flour that I used the other day in a cracker. But yeah, I do have a recipe called Sesame Crackers on the website. It uses this one, and a lot of the testers even rated it as one of the best cracker recipes I'd put out to date at that time. Another one of Keto Eats brands is Chia Flour. Chia Flour is a good substitute for things like flax meal. It's highly absorbent and you only need a little bit, and you can also use it instead of coconut flour. So for those of you who hate coconut in your baking, you can use chia flour. And again, just don't use a lot of it. I'm going to lay that down because that one doesn't like to stand up. Then Sweetener also have a peanut flour. Of course, if you have a peanut allergy, this one's not going to work for you, and it's not nut-free, but it's another flour that you can use in baking. Baking, coconut. Sunflower, another one of the Sweetener brands made with sunflower seeds. And sorry, this is the one that can turn green when you're baking, not the sesame flour. And again, this can be used as a complete substitution for your runner meal. I like to mix this, and I don't have it here. I just threw it out because it was out of date. Pepita flour, so if it's some pumpkin seed flour, you can mix the two of these and use them as a substitute. And another one I just thought of then too, because I picked up Vassie Valley's Hemp Protein, which is different, but there's hemp flour in that as well too. It is green and it will make your food look not so pretty, but if you can look past the colour of your bread or whatever, then that's fine. Obviously we have one of our most popular recipes is the low-carb bread, which has gluten in it. So this is my open packet of Lotus Pantry's gluten flour. Sorry about that. It's because it's my only one that I actually have. A lot of the recipes might say that I've used Bob's Red Milk. That has been out of stock virtually everywhere forever. It's coming back into stock in February. But the Lotus brand gluten flour is just the same substitute. There is plenty of other brands available in most health stores or nut suppliers, you know, all those sort of scoops and stuff like that, like whatever they're called, dry goods suppliers. So if you just look up gluten flour online or go into your local health food store and ask, it's not something that's in supermarkets, but if you have a local IGA or a local super IGA or Richie's, go and see them. They usually do stock both brands at least of the gluten flour. The gluten flour is a lower carb flour than basic plain flour or self-raising flour, and it's lower starch and a little lower carb. It's usually used in breads anyway to give a stronger bread dough. But yeah, so when you're using it in a loaf of bread, it's really like it's not rocket science in the bread mix itself. It's just basic substitutes. The oat fibre, no, you can't substitute oat bran. Oat fibre is made with a husk of an oat. In some countries, this is labelled as completely gluten-free product. I don't think it is labelled that for us, but it is vegan and it is keto, and it is zero carb. So it has 3 grams of carbohydrates, 3 grams of dietary fibre. So if you're using total carbs, it's still only 3 grams of carbs per teaspoon, and it's 0 calorie. It's like a nothing kind of ingredient. But again, even in the low carb bread, this is only used a little amount. You're going to get 22 slices out of the bread. You're not going to overdo it. This ingredient is also used in some keto pastas. And it's only like basically like if you use my egg fast pasta and just add a tablespoon of this to that recipe, it'll make it a stronger pasta that you can roll out, let it dry a little bit and cut it, or run it through a pasta machine. This product and this product, if you wanted to make the low carb breads and you're looking for those ingredients, I've put Elite on there. They've actually got the Macroations bread pack on there, because when we started doing these sort of breads, everyone was selling out everywhere, so they've just made packs. For the oat fibre, I have given in the low carb bread recipe that you can substitute Woolworths Macros Gentle Fibre. Now this product does actually have 1.3 grams of carbs per 10 grams. So it will add the carbs to the recipe, and it does have grains in it. It's got gluten in it, so it's actually like I said, while that's not labelled gluten-free, it's just because Australia's strict on its gluten-free. I don't even know what's in this stuff. But I've got to use it up this month. Anyway, I can't read it because it's like, I hate labels that can't read stuff on. Hang on. It has milk, peanuts, soybeans. Oh, have milk. Oh, there you go. Oat bran. So this one actually has oat bran in it, where that is oat fibre. It's not oat bran, okay? It has psyllium husk and linseed. So it's going, like, both of these are really, really, really absorbent. So don't overuse them. Don't use them to flour the bread when you're rolling it too, because you'll turn it into like really dry and crappy. Okay, so that's pretty much the flours. Oh, this is the other one. So I use Stony Creek Golden Flax Seeds. I even looked them up online. They're out of stock. I buy in bulk, and this one is well and truly out of date, but mine have not gone rancid. They're still fine. I buy mine in seeds, and I mill them as I need them, and I pop them in the fridge in an airtight container after I've done them. When I mill them, I actually use a Thermomix. So for anyone that's got a Thermomix, you're just throwing in a cup or two and milling it for 10 seconds, speed 10. Or if you've got a high-speed blender like a Vitamix, etc., then you can mill your own flours and that as well too. I love the taste of this. You can use this as a substitute in fat heads and stuff like that too, to make it completely nut-free. So to me, it's a great ingredient. I love it. I know some people don't like it, and when people ask me about the brown flax seeds versus golden flax seeds, the brown ones are a lot more bitter and stronger in flavour, where this is very mild. So it will affect the flavour of what you're eating if you use brown flax seeds or linseeds. They're the same thing. They just might be called different things, and they are in supermarkets. You can find golden flax meal in most Coles and it's the meal in the gluten-free aisle. It's not their brand, but I think it's got like a red label or something like that. I just can't remember. I use my bullet to blend golden flax seeds. So there you go, a bullet even works. So, and it doesn't matter if you've even got little bits in it, especially if you're doing it into the breads and stuff like that, it's still nice. Okay, so I've got chocolate in front of me. So the chocolates I tend to use, if you're making any of my brownies, and I've got a brownie coming up, I actually do use the 95% Lindt. It's only 1.5 grams of carbs per 16 grams, or 9.2 per 100, which is roughly around the same as Vitaworks anyway. So while it does have sugar in it, the carbs are still around the same, because this one is, let's just say the white chocolate is 9.1 per 100, and this one's 9.2. So realistically, they're all on a par for carbs, and it's just what flavours that you want to use. So Vitaworks is available at your low carb suppliers, Vitaworks itself, and health food, and some health food stores. That's my local one. And I think they're really delicious anyway. But yeah, this is the one I use mostly in baking of like anything that's like a chocolate cake or a sauce or something like that. I use the 95%. It's the lowest carb. It's going to be the lowest amount of sugar, because the higher percentage, that is like 95% cocoa, and then so it's usually around about 5% sugar. Okay, so not a bad thing. And these ones are sweetened with research what? No, sorry, they're xylitol, aren't they? Yeah, these are xylitol. So any of these, doggy can't have anyway, because cocoa is toxic to dogs, and so is xylitol. So same rule applies, no chocolate for dogs. But a small amount of xylitol can kill your little puppies, so make sure if you're going to use these sort of things that they're not something that the kids have. I would, like, if I actually had small children, I wouldn't use them at all. But we don't have people coming around and that I'm feeding things to that would ever feed anything to a dog. Okay, so let's look at sweeteners quickly. Okay, so a lot of questions all the time. I think this is the original one. Can I substitute this for this? No. In most of the recipes, no. If you can see the little bubbles going through that, this one's a lot waterier, and the main ingredient is water. And this one, the main ingredient would be a syrup. So this one is like thick like golden syrup, and this one's, what could I compare it to? Does anyone remember like Del Rosa, like a sweet cordial? not that it's a cordial, but you know what I mean, it's got that consistency. They're totally different. So in some of the recipes, if you do substitute them, they might still work in, say, some of the caramels, like a pecan bar, but you will get a better result with this one. The sucrane syrups now are non-GMO. They are IMO, sorry, but they do use a non-GMO corn syrup. So that means that the corn has not been genetically modified and it's not a sweetened corn like the sweet corn that we eat. It's back to the original. And ironically, the main ingredient that's in the sucrane syrup that's made in Norway is from Australia. And it's a completely resistant starch. So you won't get the sugar spikes that you will get with IMOs that are in other fibre syrups. So that's why they've changed their formula. We do have some recipes still on the website that might state clear syrup. Just use the gold. There's caramel, maple, or gold. I have even made my minties, like as in like a minty lolly, with the gold syrup and with the addition of spearmint or peppermint, whichever way. I actually prefer the spearmint than the peppermint. I can't taste any gold flavour to it. I think it's just the colour of the syrup, so it's not really that much of a difference, because it's not like where if you were, saying, making something and substituting golden syrup for glucose syrup, it doesn't really change the flavour that much. It's not a strong flavour in the gold syrup, but yeah, so that's a better one. You can still use this in some of them, but I will usually state if this is something that somebody's tested and can use, but it, like I said, its main ingredient is water. So if you're going to caramelise something, this is like going to have to burn off half of the water first, because that's the main ingredient that's in it. So yeah, a bit different. Gold sweeteners. There is Licanto. I thought I had a packet of it somewhere, but I might have used it up. So Sucrane Gold is my preferred brand because it is really like a real brown sugar. Natvia have brought out a new one as well that is very brown like this, where Licanto's is like a gold. To me, I liken it to like a gold castor sort of style sugar, like a raw sugar rather than a brown sugar. If you remember pre-keto, if you've been in it for a while like me, brown sugar was like heavy and kind of wet almost. Not that it's wet, but you know what I mean? Like it's dense, like wet sand. That's exactly what this product's like. So it's like, as soon as I'd seen these products like this and this, if you know, one of my first recipes was like chocolate caramel slice. I baked chocolate caramel slices for cafes in Newcastle for years, many years. And as soon as I seen these products, I'm like, oh mate, I can recreate any recipe I'd ever done. You know, from fudges, which we've done, to any kind of slice. You know, if you want your old, I could create biscuits and stuff like that, but I don't think you want to make like 6 different things to create one slice in the end. You know, like make your own milk arrowroot biscuits, make your own condensed milk, and then make a lemon coconut slice. But you can with these products because they're so much like the original. Monk fruit has catapulted itself in Australia because it was sort of like a relatively new sweetener. It is in these ones a mixture with erythritol, and that is the same for some of the brands that you'll find in the supermarkets and that as well. Again, any of these sweeteners that I'm just talking about now, they won't activate the yeast in any of the baking and that as well, but they can be substituted one for one for sugar in any of the recipes. So if you're converting an old grandma or mother's or dad's favourite recipe from years ago, you can use any of these kind of sweeteners that are wonderful. Erythritol, like I said, any brand that's erythritol will be fine. That's the main sweetener that I use. So, Sucrane one is one. The Keto Eats erythritol. They're the 2 brands that I use most. The Sucrane meatless or Sucrane icing sugar is the only icing sugar that I use. I do have a brand sitting over there. There is So Nourished as well. That's for our overseas guys. They also have like the gold sweetener, a erythritol, and a powdered sweetener, and they're all just the same, well not the same, but similar to this sort of one as well. So this one I get in bulk. You'll know that I use it a lot in the recipes because it tends to, it doesn't give you a gritty kind of feeling all of the ones, and for me it doesn't have any aftertaste. About the only time I can have any aftertaste is if you're trying to do a very simple glaze, which you're not flavouring too much. But like when I did like the lemon glaze or vanilla glaze that you might put over the orange and raspberry Danish out of Keto Loco, the flavors of the orange and the raspberry and the pastry counteract any of that aftertaste of the sweetener anyway. But if you're like going to pop it on top of say a highly sweetened biscuit, you'd really taste it. Okay, so Allulose is a product that everybody's hanging to become available in Australia. It's not recognised by the Australian food standards yet, but at the moment you can get Medava from iHerb for around about $12 for this 400 gram, I think it is. We'll have a weight on that somewhere. 340 gram. So around about $12 for that one. This one is the one Dr. Joni's, I didn't even know the brand. I bought this from New Zealand and it did cost me a small fortune, not necessarily for the sweetener, but for the shipping. So this one at the moment, we've had a few, I know Dale, you've used it and seen some of the recipes you're doing with it. But yeah, if you order from iHerb, and I've given you a link directly to this product so you can check it out, it's still in stock. I checked because I was grabbing all the links for you guys. This sweetener is a completely natural sweetener. It doesn't spike. It is a 1-to-1 ratio for sugar. It will work in everything from my pavlova and that as well too, where I should mention xylitol. Please do not use xylitol on pavlova unless you want to eat a frisbee. But yeah, this is a really good sweetener, but we're still just waiting on Australia to approve it so that your favourite low-carb suppliers can actually have it in products. But at the moment you can buy it in, you just can't sell it, okay? So if you want to get some, or if you want to look up about Allulose on Google to get the information so that you can see that it's a product that you are happy to use, then just Google Allulose. Let's have a quick look at any questions before I jump on to the next one, because I think we've done all the sweeteners. Oh, yeah. And I'll do this before I go on to the next one. So there's Keto Baking. Now, this is a 1-to-1. I find it a little bit sweeter, so you can reduce it. Some people do have a problem with the aftertaste on it, so I tend to put it with things that will be have other flavors in it. So say our Monte Carlo biscuits, these are great in the biscuit because then you actually have like the raspberry and the buttercream, so it breaks any of the sweetness. If you were going to coat this in like a dark chocolate or anything like that, it works fine. If you're making our vanilla slice and you're going to make the pastry, use this sweetener. And I should just say, when I make anything like a biscuit and there's a sweetener in it, if you reduce that sweetener and then you find that biscuit doesn't go firm, that's the reason why. Sweeteners that I put in there, even though I put a sweetener, I always put the sweetener that I use in the recipe card. And in the blog post, let's say every time we get live, please read the blog post. There is about substitutes and what other brands, not brands, but types like xylitol, say for instance, not to use. So like if we're doing an ice cream and I write sweetener, I'll write that I use xylitol or allulose because they don't recrystallize when they're refrigerated or frozen. Whereas you can use erythritol or powdered erythritol or monk fruit. They'll taste great, but when you take them out of the freezer, be prepared to stick it on the kitchen bench for half an hour while it slightly defrosts, which will take half an hour just to slightly defrost, and then otherwise you'll be eating a cricket bat, okay? So that's the reason why. But this one is still a great sweetener. It's available in the supermarket along with the Canto brand and that as well too. If anyone else is going to tell me any other good sweeteners that are from the supermarket, you can let me know. But that's pretty much my sweetener collection of what I use. The only other sweetener, funnily enough, and I'm sure it's somewhere, sorry I'm not talking to the speaker. Okay, so you know I use inulin to activate yeast in all of my baking. You know I use it in yogurt. What inulin also is, why it's a prebiotic, so it's actually healthy for you, but it's actually a mild sweetener as well. It has nothing in it that is a sweetener as such, just the actual prebiotic inulin itself. So it can be used if you don't want to use sweeteners in something to only slightly sweeten it. So let's just say you're going to make a sweet fat head and you just need to add a little bit of sweetener. If you say you're making my Danish out of Keto Loco and you're activating the yeast, you could add an extra tablespoon, say for instance, and you're just using a prebiotic to actually sweeten a pastry. Or if you wanted to use it in my pancake recipe, These are things that aren't going to affect the consistency of a recipe. They're only there for the sweetener. So a great little one to use, and it actually adds a creaminess to most of the recipes that you use as well. So good little product. As for the availability, this one might say erythritol on the top, sorry, it says inulin there. I got this one from Keto Eats as a sample before they started to stock it. And it is, you can see this one's not opened. This one is one that's from iHerb. But this is great value because it's a ½ kilo bag. And I know Sucrin and Elite Health are also stocking this brand as well now too, in these inulins and erythritols, because they're just incredible value at a 500 gram packet. And in Australia. Okay, so let's have a look before we move on to the next ones. Hello. I know your store made my wedding dress 31 years ago. Oh no, sorry, that's Lucy. I'm like, I didn't make anyone's wedding dress. Can you post a link for the chocolate you showed? The video keeps dropping out and I missed that part. Okay, Sherry. For the Vitawax, I've popped the link above the thread and it's Keto Eats. So just go to Keto Eats. They have it all. $8.95 for each packet. Roughly around about 9 grams per 100 grams. So you could eat the whole bar if you wanted to. Their flavour is delicious. There's no grain, there's no weirdness. I won't mention brands, but there's a lot of chocolates that I have tried that I don't like, that are sugar-free. But yeah, great product. And one that I use in a lot of, so like the Christmas gathering book, there was like a few little treats in there that had like chocolate dip cookies or shortbreads and stuff like that in it. Perfect for that. Watching on phone pic is small. What are you holding up in regards to syrups? Okay, so the syrups, one is Queen Fine Food, that is available in Coles and Woolworths. So that is called a maple flavoured syrup. They also do a blueberry one and a apple cinnamon in sugar-free. And then this is a Sucrin. They do gold, caramel and maple flavoured syrups. They're both made of completely different ingredients. And yeah, this one is more of a syrup. This one is a, as I said, it's a flavoured kind of syrup. So it's a lot waterier. The main ingredient is water in this one. Okay, and I think, what's the sweetener? So the sweetener might be stevia. Now you can see how bad mine are. Okay, so this one's got sorbitol and sucralose. I won't comment on the sweeteners. You guys can look them up and make your decision, and there's lots of numbers. So this one's ingredients, can I read it? I've got no chance, I don't think. Yeah, I can't read it. Sorry. Bad eyesight, and it's a secondary label that I've touched a lot. Okay, next. That's Vitaworks homepage. Yeah, you can find the Vitaworks, like I said, I find that they're actually cheaper to buy from Keto Eats and Elite Health than from Vitaworks itself, even in bulk. Can you turn the sound up on your own device? Oh, that's Dave saying that. Already maximum, but I'm sitting close to the computer. Next time I'll try, I've actually got a microphone. I've got one of the Rode, I don't even know what it's called, microphones, so we'll see if that works for that. I've eaten the whole bar before yeah. I would not be surprised. Already maximum as well here. Okay, so I will try and talk a little bit louder. Okay, so the next one I'm going to look at is Gluten-Free Tamari. This is a product that you can use. I always write, use a gluten-free soy, gluten-free tamari, or coconut aminos. This is available in Woolworths, so this is the brand that you're looking for, Pure Harvest. Great for Asian style cooking. Adds that little bit of soy flavour and that as well to it, but this particular one is gluten-free. Fish sauce, another ingredient that's used in a lot of Asian style recipes. This one is actually gluten-free. So it's called the Squid brand, and you might think it's squid sauce, but it's fish sauce. And again, in Woolies and Coles, in the Asian foods aisle, it's usually up the top shelf in mine anyway. Apple cider vinegar. A lot of people ask about apple cider vinegar. So for instance, our wraps have apple cider vinegar in one of the ingredients that you've got to add to the packet mix. Why is it there? Apple cider vinegar, I mean, people say it's for the health benefits. Not necessarily. For baking, it actually adds strength to the dough. So by leaving it out, or substituting it with something else, you can reduce the strength and the elasticity in the dough. So that's the reason why this ingredient is in things like this. So if you see it in one of my recipes, it's usually to give the dough more of a dough feel and increase the elasticity. So I actually do use it in things like the daily bread recipe, which I created back in 2017, I think that one. Baking powder. So baking powder is another one I get so many questions on. There is another brand that I'll talk about that I don't have here because I've still got a lot of this one. Okay, so we use double-acting aluminium-free baking powder. Why? Because in gluten-free and low-carb baking, so this is the difference where people go, oh, but I bake this one and only use a little bit of this with the gluten-free flour. Well, there's no carbs in our flours, you know, like, well, there is, but they're a lot lower than gluten-free flour, you know, like rice flours and teff flours or whatever. But the thing is when you use this one, even if you look up on Mackenzie's website, they will say using this, too much of this, it's bitter, right? So if you were going to do my crispy chicken wings and you put you coat them in a tablespoon of this stuff, it's going to be like eating something metallic. If you use Bob's Red Mill, which again, it's available on a lot of stores online, it'll be back in iHerb this month or February, it's tomorrow. And it is in like a lot of the Richie stores and super IGAs, and Terry Kid had somewhere that was a good one the other day, so I'll put that link up somewhere. You can buy some as well. That was like $11 for a 400 gram packet. So gluten-free, aluminium-free. What it does is this actually begins to help rise while it is in the cold state, and then when the liquid is added and going into heat state. So it actually really helps push and give rise to breads, cakes, all of those sort of things. It does not taste bitter at all because it has no aluminium in it. And it is a true double-acting baking flour. Now there is another brand called Lotus Pantry that is in a lot of the health food stores and that as well too. It's the same as this and it's an organic product as well. So it's just the same as this one, but this one, while this is double-acting, if you were to look it up, it is still bitter tasting. So if it's a recipe that calls for a tablespoon of baking powder, you're going to get a bitterness with this particular one that's available in the supermarket. So this is when I was saying, like, a lot of the recipes that I'll state you can get at the supermarket, you can still get things like this, but I don't use this one. It's probably expired. In fact, it is 2019, 22nd of the 8th, 2019, unexpired. But yeah, it's a good example just to show you why I actually say a different brand, and that is because this stuff's not created for people that are on keto, but this one is. This is like helping to get those rise in flours and baking that doesn't have the natural things to do it. The only other way to actually add that extra rise is adding extra eggs, which we always say add them at room temperature, right? Okay, oils. Everyone knows I'm like a big fan of avocado oil. Yes, I work with Grove avocado oil and I love this oil. Reason being, one, it's a beautiful color. I wish I had my pesto out that I've made today. It is both perfect for everything from drizzling over a salad to a dressing to a pesto to frying in, because it's a high smoke point. So virgin olive oil, don't even think about frying fish or something like that in it. It does not get hot. It's not something that you'll ever see in a fish and chip shop that anyone's cooking fish and chips in, because it is not a high smoke oil. This one is. So you can use this for everything. The only thing that and you can still make a mayonnaise with avocado oil and it's delicious. The only thing is when you're going to make like something like, let's just say you're going to make my vanilla cake, and instead of butter, you're going to add oil. You would use a light tasting olive oil. So you want something that doesn't have any flavor, where this one does have a flavor and it will turn everything green because it's a dark green. But that's when people say like a neutral taste oil or a light tasting oil. I've got the Moro, but you could have Di Bortoli. There's heaps of different brands. Squeaky Gate, I think, do one as well, excuse me. And then of course, like, you know, you've got your extra virgin olive oils. Other oils that are good to use for salads and things like that is like, for keto is the walnut pressed oil, macadamia oils, any of those little nut oils, not the seed oils. The only seed oil would be hemp, hemp heart or hemp seed oil, which is delicious as well. So I've actually got this one in our tabbouleh on the website, and it's an amazing oil, beautiful taste. Okay, so that is pretty much all the oils that I use. But like I said, this one I do tend to use in everything. So if it's not going to be fried at like a high temperature, let's say like my tempura fish in Keto Loco, that you would use this and not a virgin olive oil. But if you were going to be making a, I don't know, just sauteing onions and then adding chicken or something like that and broccoli, you can use an extra virgin. But I will add the substitutes of what you can use. For high temp oils, I do have them in the cupboard, but you could use like things like lard, any animal fat or something like that as well, or coconut oil, like cold pressed coconut oil, the firm set coconut oil. You could use MCT, but that's very expensive to use that way. Okay, next one that comes from the supermarket and that I use a different brand. Okay, so I obviously write a lot of beef gelatin, but I use like products that are pasture fed and a better product. So this one was probably a mixture of beef and pork, I think they are. And it has a really, I think it's funny, like I could not make anything with like gelatin pre-keto because I wasn't a big meat eater. And if you want to know where gelatin comes from, you can always look it up because it's not very nice. All I could smell was dead animal whenever I use this one. So the ones that I do tend to use now, like I said, this one's a pasture raised one. This one is a cheaper one that's from iHerb that is available. These are great for your health. So even when you're reading if like a thickened cream is made with gelatin, gelatin's good for you. So, you know, you can use this. But Low-Carb Co is an Aussie brand. You can buy it directly from Low-Carb Co. I pop their link on in the thread for you. But also found in, I think, nearly every single one of our low-carb suppliers across Australia as well. And if you do want to order for overseas shipping, you can contact Keto Eats or Low-Carb Co because I think they ship globally as well. Or if you want to wholesale it in your wholesale it to sell it in your store, you can get it as well. But these are the ones that I do tend to use, and I use a lot of gelatin. In baking, what it does, it just adds that little bit of chew. So for me, it's where I'll add things to like the sticky ginger nut. I've added gelatin because I wanted it to be that's a sticky ginger nut loaf out of Keto Loco. I probably said that too fast. The sticky nut loaf out of Keto Loco. That loaf is supposed to be like a what do you call them? A sticky date. So that was like my idea in my head for that particular recipe, using gelatin in the mixture, provide that date feel. So that's in there. Of course, for our Anzac biscuits, I've added the gelatin to, again, put that little bit of the chew, even though you can cook them until they're crispy. You still want that traditional little bit of chewiness to an Anzac biscuit as well. So yeah, that's the reason why it's in some of the biscuit recipes or cookie recipes and bread recipes. And we did have a question the other day saying somebody had had one where they turned out soft, and we worked out that it was a sweetener. But yeah, the gelatin doesn't make anything soft. If anything, it makes it firmer. So the more you put in, the firmer it's actually going to be. Quick look. Already maximum as well. I found Chef's Choice baking powder. Yeah, that one's a fine one as well too. I've never seen it anywhere other than from one supplier, which was, I cannot remember their name, but I do remember seeing it. And yep, that's all good. So yep, awesome. Okay, so other little thickeners. So thickeners that we use is obviously xanthan gum. Less is more with xanthan gum. So if you're going to use a gravy, you can use any kind of leftovers from your roasts and stuff like that. Add a little bit of water or cream. Add the tiniest, like less than 1/4 teaspoon to say a cup of liquid of xanthan gum, and you just keep whisking, and it will get thickened. It is used obviously in my baking and that as well too. This is why it's mostly about baking today. And again, that it actually helps give you gluten-light structures in low-carb, gluten-free baking. So that's the reason why that one's there. So for anyone who hates slimy feel, in the baking, you do not feel it, because even like in my fat head where I've got a whole teaspoon of this stuff in it, like it's 250 grams of mozzarella in the mixture as well, and 2 eggs, you do not feel any sliminess to it, because like, trust me, I've had slimy xanthan gum before. For those of you who hate xanthan gum but want a thickener, that's amazing. You can't buy it in the supermarket, but these ones are available in some of the health food stores, and they're definitely in iHerb. I've got both of these from iHerb. It's called glucomannan powder or cognac root, so it's like what your cognac noodles are made out of. It is a gentle thickener, and it's amazing stuff. So that's the two brands. I've got Best Naturals and Now brand, and they're iHerb and that as well too. And less than $10 for a container. And one of these will probably last you 12 months at least. Unless you like making gravy, say for instance, every single week. Okay, I wanted to show you this ingredient because I do use it in my cooking, and I do have it in the caramel chia pops in Keto Loco. This one's from Coles. You can't buy macadamia milk at Woolies, not that I've seen yet anyway, not in my local one. But when I was in there the other day, I noticed there was another brand. The only reason I wanted to show you this brand is because the other brand that's at Coles is sweetened. This one isn't. I looked at the carbs in the other one and it was really high. This one is 1.3 grams of carbs per 1 cup. It's an amazing milk. It's probably, to me, I think it's the best nut milk to put in a cup of tea, because when I was like, I don't drink tea anymore. I drank tea when I started keto, but now I'm fully a black coffee girl. It was about the only one that I found that didn't curdle. It would if I left it there for a really long time. It would have gone cold. But yeah, it was really good. But it's amazing. You'll notice my Lush macadamia ice cream on the website. It's made with this milk. Our new chia pops are made with this. It can be used in like cake baking and stuff like that as well too. And it even tastes nice straight from the container. But yeah, there is a new brand. Just be careful if you go to buy any of these products, because like, I have to say, I've even been caught up sometimes when I've just gone, yeah, that'll be fine. And then I've like looked at the carbs when I've got home and gone, oh crap. Just on your things, because you just assume that some things are low. Another thing that people ask me about is coconut butter. So I've got Cell Squared coconut butter here. Great product, tastes amazing. No, it isn't the same product as coconut oil. It's made with the flesh of the coconut. Again, if you've got a high-speed blender at home, you can make your own coconut butter with desiccated coconut. Again, make sure that it's not a non-sweetened desiccated coconut. But this product is it's available directly from Cell Squared, which I think I put the link to them directly, or you can get it from your low-carb suppliers like Keto Eats, probably Low-Carb Emporium, Keto. Don't even know them all, but I do, but I can't think of them all. But yeah, great product, really delicious, great for, and when you open it, you'll see on the top, it's like the coconut oil on the top, and then it's really like buttery and rich down the bottom. Mix it all together, taste it off the spoon. Amazing. But amazing like for fat bombs, flavoring, cakes, brownies, any of those sort of things. You could even just like mix this with like a little bit of cocoa powder or cacao, and add a little bit of peanut butter or something like that for the simplest, tastiest dessert, pretty much out of a jar. But to make your own, yeah, you just blend desiccated coconut and you'll get it. Cacao nibs, that's another thing. This is the Cell Squared one as well. These do add up in carbs, but they're great for a little dusting of things like that on a smoothie bowl or whatever, and that as well too. But yeah, again, for carbs, 2.8 per 10 grams. But you don't need a lot. I find that a little bit goes a long way. These are on our butter caramel bars up on the top. Don't leave them off. Tastes amazing. Okay. Brain and Brawn is a Aussie brand. They have keto creamers and stuff like that as well. I have recently just done a couple of recipes like the new muffins and that as well, where we've used the keto creamer in them. These are more so added for health benefits because they've either got grass-fed butter, powder or MCT powders, collagen and that in them. So these are things that you can add to shakes and stuff like that as well too. But you'll see when I put things in recipes, I'll actually tell you what you can substitute, what you can leave out if you want to. Often I do put a collagen or a creamer in it in recipes, and it's for the health benefits, but it's also to replace things like milk powder and stuff like that with a low carb flour that has the additional nutritional boost. So that's why I use these sort of products. These are great products, and at the moment we've got a code that if you use MADC, I think it's 30% off at checkout. Okay. One of my other favourite products at the moment, of course, is the cereal that we just did with the Lupines for Life protein flakes. Now, this says that this is a world first, and there is another brand of the Lupine flakes, but it's not these ones. It's not like these, okay? So, if you can see that, they're kind of like a cornflake, but there's no corn in them. And they're only 2.5 grams of carb per 40 grams. So if you're going to eat this like as a whole bowl of cereal, that would be a 40 gram serve. You're only eating that 2.5 grams of carbs. But yeah, I've done this with a cereal. This is like, think of any recipe that you've ever made with cornflakes. This is what you can use to substitute and make your own cereal, so a flake. So with my cereal, you could add some cocoa or some cacao to it and create like a chocolate cereal. That'll be crunchy, and you can have it with your macadamia milk. So things, they also do Kibble, which is a replacement for rice. You can mix this with a little bit of cauliflower rice to bring down the carbs in that as well too. Make your own arancini balls or something like that with that. They have a semolina, so I was saying on my last live that I will be doing things like semolina pastas and a semolina porridge and things like that with them. I've got a new sous vide. I actually want to have a go at doing some infused porridges in the sous vide, which should be interesting. So a little bit of testing. They also do a crumb, so you can do your chicken schnitzels and stuff like that with the lupin crumbs. So is anyone asking you what lupin is? Lupin is mainly an Australian crop. I'm not sure if it's grown everywhere else around the world, but it is a legume. It's low carb and high protein. I haven't read a huge amount about it. If you do have a peanut allergy, you cannot have lupin. But yeah, it's a great product. It's a mild flavour. I made my first recipes way back in 2017. So on the website, we do have a gosling made with yogurt and the lupin flour, which I don't have here right now. But great product. It can be a strong flavour if you use too much of it. But I can say, like, I found the Lupines for Life brand, particularly when I tried the protein flakes. Like, I was eating it out of the packet from day one, going, oh my god, I'm making a cereal out of this, because I was not a fan of cornflakes or anything because they were too sweet. But as soon as I tasted it, it sort of reminded me kind of a cross between a cornflake and like bran flakes, which I loved. I loved bran flakes and an oat bran that was around back in the day. But yeah, really good product. Okay, so also at Keto Eats, little self-promo, there's some Mad Creations bread mixes, just in case you didn't know, that we have a keto pizza base mix, which only has 0.7 grams of carbs per slice. We have our no nut wrap mix that can also be made vegan as well, keto vegan. And by the way, all these products are clean keto, so no crap in them, no gluten. This makes 8 wraps and it's 1.2 grams of carbs per wrap. And mind you, you can get more than 8 out of the packet. We probably get around about 12 now. I just roll it really thin. The keto soft wrap mix, it's 1.1 grams of carbs per wrap. This one's empty. I need to buy some more. Isn't it sad? I've got none of my own product. And we've got the keto sandwich bread. So this is a mild flavoured bread that doesn't have any seeds or anything like that in it, so that you're not eating like, let's just say like the Macros, Alpine, Aldi bread, or all seedy breads. This one has none of those bits in it. So if you want a sandwich bread that isn't bitty, this is the one you want to buy. Okay, so from another new Aussie company, very excited to see this product, and I actually have my mixtures in the fridge to make this tomorrow, because I'm going to make you guys a lasagna. This is called Palmini Pasta. It's in a can, and it's made with hearts of palm. For a 75 gram serve of this, it's only 2 grams of carbs. Great product and very simple. So they've actually got it in lasagna sheets and in a linguine. So I'll be doing some recipes with Palmini pastas coming up. But yeah, you can order this from Lifestyle Republic AU. So just look them up, and they're selling this at the moment. But yeah, they sent that to me a while ago. But like I said, there's that list on the fridge. Nothing's getting done in a hurry. The only other things I've got hiding at the back here is I've got another collagen. So again, I used to just use the low-carb collagen, which you can see is open. I have several bags of this one. And I do use collagen. Like I said, I use collagen in a lot of different things. I just throw it in because it's like an extra flour or whatever. And this one, say for instance, that's like 100 grams. So it's only 0.7 grams of carbs for 100 grams of this. So 100 grams of almond meal is 9.7. So this has got 9 grams more than this. Now you can't swap, but you can swap out part of this with this. That's why I tend to do it. So again, in the recipes, I will state where you can leave it out, or that it's, leave it out. Don't substitute it for anything else. Just leave it out and the recipe will still work. And when I say that, those recipes have been tested for that. So we don't want you to be making things and not turn out because you've left out one ingredient like that. And I understand it's something that can be too expensive for some people to buy or want to buy if they're on a budget. So we want to make those recipes versatile so that they're still budget friendly as well. But for those of you who have got the extra packet mixes around, like I know a lot of people like to buy all the flavoured collagen, so it's something that you could throw into the vanilla cake, say for instance, and make a strawberry and cream vanilla or strawberries and cream cake, because it would be no anymore. It'd be flavoured with the strawberry and cream collagen powder. But those sort of things work. The other one at the back I've got up there is an unflavoured whey protein. That's Lake Avenue whey protein isolate. It's one of the biggest ingredients. I've been asked that many times, and it's even in our FAQs on the website about why I use it and why it's there. There will be more things going on about substitutes and stuff like that, because whey protein isolate can spike blood sugar levels. But it is in baking basically to lighten and give a crisper or a crumb to a cake. And again, it's lowering the carbs because the carbs in those are usually around 0, where, like I said, all your meals and that are a lot higher in carbs. And the brands that I tend to use, I use that one. I just got one because it was a deal at iHerb, but I use Whey Direct from Keto Eats. And I've used Isopure in the past, but the pricing of that one just skyrocketed a fair bit. So I tend to just grab the ones from Keto Eats when I'm getting extra products. But yeah, that's pretty much most of the products. You can see I've got my nursing apron. We're going to have some aprons come in soon. That will be in the store and that as well too. And of course we've got our books. And if anyone is joining us tomorrow, starting in our Kickstart Challenge, we have our new Kickstart Challenge, which the meal plan, lists and trackers and everything like that is in the store. But there is the group, which I've had a few posts on this page anyway, so you should be able to find all those details. Have I not got any more comments, or is that just it? So has anyone got any questions while we're here? I will have something new that I'll sneak out a picture of later. I don't know if you can see it over in the corner. I've used our bagel dough and I've made a pesto braided loaf. And I was going to pop it in the oven while I was talking, but then I thought jumping in and back and forward would be too hard. So, but yeah, we might have a new recipe coming out. Hopefully it'll work. I'm not thinking I have missed anything. That's just some cacao buttons and another Xanthan Gum brand from Keto Eats there. But yeah, if you've got any questions regarding the recipes and that, try and use the main group, because we've got our testers in there as well, so they can help you quicker. When people send me messages on that via Facebook page and stuff like that, I don't get notifications from Facebook for a lot of things, and I'm not on there a lot. So because there's so many, they get buried down, because like in social media they only like show you your last 50 notifications or something like that in some of them. So yeah, I do tend to miss out on all of the notifications. But if you post it in the group, say I'm making the Monte Carlo biscuits, can I swap the almond milk for coconut flour? If so, how much? You might have somebody on the group that's done it before, where I said I haven't tested it. If it's not in the recipe or in the blog post, you might actually get some tips from somebody who's already done that, because they hate almond meal enough that they thought they'd work it out. And I love seeing that you know, everyone can help each other out. I'm losing my voice, so I must be like nearly at the end of it all. But yeah, I'm not seeing any more questions. What's that? Nope, go back there. Alrighty, so I think we'll stop there, and I can get my oven back onto preheat. But yeah, if you've got any questions, just pop them in the thread. If you need links for any of the products, they're in the thread, like where I put links to most of them here. But if you wanted to ask any more, or if you're looking for a brand like Vassie Valley and stuff like that, you can look those ones up. They're not in the low carb suppliers, but I love their hemp seeds. They're like amazing. But yeah, there's lots of different products and brands that you can just Google if they're not in those thread, in the thread link that I popped in there for you. But anyway, I hope everyone got something out of this today. And yeah, if you like this sort of thing about seeing the ingredients and going through the ingredients, just let me know what kind of recipe style you'd actually like to know more about, whether it's, you know, slow cooking. I'm doing that at the moment anyway, but and we'll go through some of those ingredients and things like that, or cooking methods or baking pans or whatever, and that as well too. I'm hopefully downsizing a lot of that sort of stuff, so getting a little bit more streamlined. But anyway, that's it for me. It's been a long hour or more, a bit more, and yeah, I'll catch up with you soon. Okay, bye. I've got to come over and turn it off.